The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the bacon is sizzling. Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Welcome everyone to episode 118 of the Daily Mother Swole. At least we'll get it on YouTube. Let's see if any of this works. Fuck technology for the record. Welcome everyone to episode 118. Today I want to discuss a little bit about why you need to stabilize and when to stabilize. So stabilization exercises really means activating core musculature, which are all the internal, slow twitch, balancing type muscles deep inside the body. And what that means is it's not the pectoralis, not the muscles you can see from the outside. They are the slow twitch, the endurance fibers that are along the spine, that are along the base of the pelvis, that keep posture. And yes, I know the red phone's in view, and this is a talk show, so you don't really need to see my left shoulder. So the stabilization exercises, the stabilization movements being longer duration and higher repetition movements such as plank, hip bridges, single leg squat, single leg balance reach, all these things that I have on my YouTube channel at Swolenormous. These exercises should be done, including rotator cuff exercises, should be done before you start training. A lot of times people ask me, hey, can I do this after I'm done training? The problem with doing stabilization exercise after you're done training is because you will cut them short. You will cut them short. You will slack on doing anything at the end of your workout. Chances are you will leave the gym early. You'll leave the gym. You'll leave the gym and cut off the ab exercise. You'll cut off doing calves. You'll cut off doing cardiovascular training if you need to do cardiovascular training. You will make excuses to leave a little bit early, or you'll get busy or something will come up and you'll just kind of burn out and just want to get out of there. So the problem with doing something at the end is not only are you fatigued, but you're also more likely to just bail out and cut it short, just psychologically. So if you have a weaker body part, you have something you need to activate or something you need to train, you should do it earlier on. Not to mention, you should be firing and turning on these stabilizer muscles first in order to protect yourself during your exercise. So if you're doing, let's say upper body, doing chest today, you should be doing your rotator cuff work, your warm-up. You should be doing your cobras, your posterior rotator cuff activation, your shoulder stabilizer activation exercises before you train. And I put a lot of these workouts on my Swolenormous premium group on my private Facebook page, Swolenormous.com, if you're interested in signing up for my private training group. These exercises are the things you should be doing first. They should be done on their own. They should be done before workout as a warm-up. They should be done on off days as a activator, as a compensation driver, because you're trying to neutralize these imbalances that you're creating through your daily life. One of the problems with most habits are they're sitting down at a car, you're sitting down at a desk, you are hunched over, you're rounded in the upper body, and this causes an imbalance in the musculature in the upper body. This will cause tightness in certain muscles, weakness in other muscles, and that creates a seesaw effect where you have too much tightness, too much weakness, and you are creating an imbalance. And when you put that under stress, for example, during a bench press, during even a push-up, or during any kind of daily motion during your life, you put yourself in a risky position because your target, your bullseye, is off. Your balance is off, your seesaw is off, and your equilibrium is off. It's like the justice scale. You want balance. We all know there's a lot of injustice in this world, but that balance in your body is something that can be controlled and can be improved. You have to be aware of what imbalances take place. So exercise that work non-mirror muscles. Now, those stabilizers that are really weak are muscles on the back of the shoulder and on the inside of the core musculature and the base of the spine and the pelvis. And these are muscles you cannot see. There's a reason why people don't train these is because most people can't see them unless you're Superman, because they're inside. You can't see your rotator cuff, you can't see your multifidus, you can't see your longissimus, you can't see your pelvic floor muscles. These are all deep inside the body, and you have over 600 muscles, and you can only see maybe 100 of them from the outside if you look close enough, if you're lean enough. So because you can't see them, you don't train them. Because you don't train them, they get weaker and weaker, and this gets compounded over time. A tallywhacker muscle. Yeah, you can't see that either. Unless you're looking at my pants, you can see it right through. But if you're not training them, they're getting weaker and you're creating constant imbalances. And those imbalances are going to cost you in the long run. And this leads to constant or chronic shoulder pain. This leads to chronic back pain, knee pain. Some of you might be having chronic recurring injuries. You might be having, shoulder injuries that come and go and come and go. Back injuries, you throw your back out, it gets better. You throw your back out again, it gets better. You throw your back out again. You have knee pain, it goes away. You have knee pain, it goes away. You have knee pain, it goes away. These things are because of imbalances, and they're not going away because you're not changing the problem. You're not fixing the problem. You're just putting a Band-Aid on it by resting, by taking a couple days off. The inflammation goes down. You go back to what you were doing the same wrong way, and it happens again. Poor diet could lead or could have, inflammation because you're eating inflammatory foods, but we're talking about physical compensation, physical imbalances. Diet's important, but we're talking about the physical movements and sitting a certain way and sitting hunched over at a desk and doing too many pressing movements, doing too many mirror muscles, like doing too many sit-ups and crunches and doing too much pressing and doing too much bicep curls. Those are things you can see in the mirror. Most people don't work the back of their body enough. You're not working the posterior rotator cuff. You're not working the posterior deltoid. You're not working the rhomboids, the middle and lower traps. You're not working the glutes enough. You're not working the hamstrings properly. You're not lengthening the hip flexors enough. You're tightening up muscles that are already tight. You're working muscles that you can see in the mirror because your head doesn't spin around like a fucking owl. And what happens is, because you do everything forwards, because you can't turn your head, you do everything forwards, front. The front of your body in general gets overworked and the back gets underworked. And because we're not climbing trees, we're not doing a lot of pulling, we're not activating muscles the way we should naturally as human beings, you're going to have improper let's say strength ratios between muscles. Some muscles are going to be stronger than others, and that's going to cause pulling. In that pulley system, you're going to have an imbalance, and then when you do other when you do your normal activities during your day, or when you do exercise at the gym, your joints are more at risk because they're not aligned properly. Your joints have imbalanced tension. So when you do a bench press, when you do a shoulder press, when you do a pull-up, you're causing more grinding in the joints, which causes inflammation. You're causing more pressure in the anterior capsule of the shoulder, which is going to cause inflammation and pain. You're causing pressure on the joints, pressure on the hips, on the lower back, so you have lower back pain. You are putting yourself in a position every day without even realizing it for pain. And then you have pain. You're like, oh my God, I hurt myself at the gym. Not really. You hurt yourself for the last 15, 20 years sitting at a desk at work. And this is just kind of like the movement that exacerbated it because of the extra stress and the extra force that you're putting on a weaker structure. When you're not aligned properly in your joints and your body, when you're not aligned properly, it's weakened. If there's no balance, it's weaker. So that is the problem that I'm addressing. And you can go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Swolenormous. And if you look at the exercise videos earlier in the playlist, you'll see supine hip bridge, you'll see plank, you'll see a bunch of exercises that activate core musculature. And I've said this in a bunch of daily swoles. I talk about activating the core a lot. The core is not the six pack. Working the abs and do just crunches is really just making it worse. Doing crunches and sit-ups just make your posture worse. They don't help as much as you think they do. You need to be doing planks. You need to be doing glute work. You need to be working on tilting your pelvis backwards to improve your posture, because posture is going to make you look just as much better as doing strengthening for your abdominal muscles. It's nice to see the six-pack, but chances are working those muscles is doing you more harm than good. Training in general tightens your core. That's a general statement, and you activate your muscles all over your body when you train. Depends on what you mean by training, and depends on what you're referring to as core. So yes, and more likely a big no. You're doing core, you're activating core when you're doing bench press. A lot of people think, oh, I'm not strengthening my core when I'm doing, because I'm on a flat bench, I'm not stabilizing. Well, stabilization is just being in an unstable environment. When you're lifting, you're squeezing. Yeah, you're squeezing, but it depends on what you're referring to as your core. It depends on if you're squeezing with the proper posture. You can do many exercises with bad form when you're not hitting the muscles that you're supposed to. So you can, if you're doing exercise properly with your body, kind of like vacuums, if people know what vacuums are, and not to mention vacuums and drawing in versus bracing is a whole other argument. So drawing in is important, but also bracing is important. It depends on what exercise that you're doing. So it's important to have proper posture during every exercise, and I'm sure that's what you're referring to. Make sure that you're putting your body in proper posture during every exercise, and you can get core activation when you're doing a flat bench press on a bench. You can get core activation when you're doing a pull-up, when you're doing a barbell row, when you're doing a bicep curl. You need to be focusing on drawing in the stomach, squeezing the glutes, posteriorly tilting the pelvis, all the time during all your training. Just standing up isn't enough because your standing up is already imbalanced. You have to be actively correcting that imbalance even when you're not doing an isolated exercise for your core. You're always activating. You should always be activating, especially in the gym. When you're at the supermarket, suck your stomach in, squeeze your butt. When you're in line at the bank, when you're at home, when you're sitting in the car, suck your stomach in. Start activating the transverse abdominis, especially when you do exercise like the plank and the supine hip bridge. Watch my videos on YouTube and see how to do them properly. Because if you're doing planks, chances are you're doing it wrong. If you're doing hip bridges or you don't know what that is, or a single leg squat, no offense, chances are you're doing it wrong. It doesn't mean you're not going down and up. It just means you're not activating the right muscles during that range of motion. So it's all about retraining the body. Stabilization is having your body in an environment where it has to reconnect and remap that neuromuscular coordination. And when you remap neuromuscular coordination, it's challenging, it's difficult, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable, and it's boring. And that's why people don't do it. And that's why people continuously get hurt, because it's not glamorous, it's not fun, it's not CrossFit, it's not any of this high intensity jumping, running around, cleans, presses, muscle building. It's not something that people want to do. That's why it's like pulling teeth when I tell people to do yoga. Everyone always asks me, what's the best way to do this? What's the best way to do this? Every single answer for everything that you could ask me with fitness, for the most part, I could answer with, and you could also do yoga. Yoga could be a component of that answer, and still people don't do it. So it's only good advice if you take it. So you can say, I can go blue in the face talking about what to do here, and 99% of you won't actually do it, but it might open up your mind to the possibility wow, I'm not doing everything I should be doing, and that might be good enough to start getting the wheels turning, the gears in motion, so you can start making those changes in the future. So it's just something to think about. Stabilization exercises, it's a lot of those longer duration, slower movements, posterior rotator cuff exercises, floor cobras, hip bridges, planks, single leg balances. A lot of exercises go into stabilization. Bikram's good. Any kind of hot yoga, any type of yoga is good. You just got to find what works for you. Bikram, it might be right for some people, but yeah, it's about finding what you can stick to and what you can do consistently. A lot of people, and myself, I agree that Bikram's just, they try to make it overly hot, but anything over 100 degrees is fine. It doesn't really have to be 110 or 115 or where the hell they do. But Bikram's great. They're all good. They're all good. Hot yoga, I love hot yoga. I prefer it myself, actually. And Raja and Yin yoga, those are great. So I'll stay for a couple of minutes after if you have any specific questions. But stabilization, when to stabilize, make sure you're always stabilizing. Make sure you're doing your stabilization exercises before you do your workout, and also on off days if you're not training. These are things that need consistent coats of paint in order to strengthen, in order to develop, and they will help you with strength. It will help you with reducing pain, and it will help you with endurance and longevity in your training. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 118 of The Daily Mother Swole. Yeah, the reason why it's better on Facebook, and I went over this a few times yesterday and the day before, is that I am on my iPad. I'm on Facebook Live because Facebook Live sucks for the most part. I'm still, really disenchanted with it, with the, quality and the lag. And the reason it's on my phone now. And Periscope, if the quality seems a little bit less, is because it's on my iPad. And in the near future, if I pick up another phone, maybe it'll be the same on both. But I'm not sure if I'm going to stick with Facebook Live, if I'm going to continue doing it this way, because it's kind of a pain in the ass to get this started. But right now, I am doing triple broadcast, and it is a freaking talk show, so the quality doesn't have to be good either. And if you want really great high-def quality, you can watch it later on YouTube. On my YouTube channel, Swolenormous, because it's up there. So the quality, if you want best quality, you can always check it out on YouTube later. So as long as you can see me and hear my voice, it's all good for me right now. So thanks for joining me. I'll stay for a couple minutes. If you have any questions, you got it, Terry. Thanks for joining from France, International Swole. So if you have any questions, you can shoot, and I will stick for a couple minutes after. Thank you again, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Another.